I just want Mommy for Christmas," whispered the little girl, her voice soft as the snow falling outside the window of the grand Hale mansion. Lily's small hands clutched a worn teddy bear, its fur matted from years of comfort. Beyond the frosted glass, the city shimmered with light, distant, untouchable, like everything else in her father's world. Upstairs, Ethan Hale stood in the doorway, hidden by the soft glow of the nightlight. His throat tightened as he listened. He had built empires from steel and glass, could negotiate billion-dollar mergers in minutes. But this simple wish from his 6-year-old daughter left him helpless. He turned away before she saw the moisture in his eyes, walking down the long marble corridor that echoed with silence. The mansion glowed with expensive decorations, gilded wreaths, towering trees, designer ornaments, but it all felt empty. 3 years had passed since Grace, his wife, was gone, and though the world called him a success, he lived like a ghost in a golden cage. In his office, Ethan poured a glass of scotch and stared at the photo on his desk. Grace's smile, captured forever beside baby Lily, radiated warmth that had long since vanished from the house. "I'm trying, Grace," he whispered, "but I don't know how to make her happy anymore." Across town, the air smelled of cinnamon and sugar at Maple Street Bakery. It was small, walls painted soft cream, an old bell over the door, a cracked heater humming near the counter. Behind the glass display, Clara Bennett brushed flour from her cheek as she boxed the last cupcakes of the night. Her fingers were red from the cold, but she smiled as she wiped the counter. "Only 3 more orders and we're done, Noah," she called to her younger brother, an 18-year-old boy studying part-time while helping her run deliveries. He looked up from sweeping the floor. "You should rest, Clara. You've been on your feet all day." She shook her head. "Rent's due next week. Rest can wait." They exchanged a tired smile, the kind siblings shared when the world felt heavy, but love kept them going. Despite her exhaustion, Clara's heart was light. She had little, yet found joy in the small things. The smell of fresh bread, laughter with her brother, the way snow turned even the dirtiest street into something magical. That night, one of the deliveries was for a corporate event at Hale Enterprises, a towering building of glass and steel that gleamed like ice against the night sky. Clara adjusted her wool coat, carrying 2 large trays of cupcakes as she hurried through the revolving doors. Inside, a grand Christmas gala glittered with chandeliers and champagne. Laughter, tuxedos, sequins, an ocean of wealth she didn't belong in. She moved carefully among the guests, trying to find the catering table. And then, disaster. She turned a corner too quickly and collided with a tall man in a charcoal suit. The tray wobbled, frosting flying. Hot chocolate splattered across his immaculate white shirt. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry," Clara gasped, grabbing napkins in panic. "I didn't see you there." The man stiffened, his voice cool. "Clearly." Then, before the tension could freeze, a small laugh chimed like a bell. "Daddy, you look funny." Ethan turned to see his daughter, Lily, giggling behind him. Clara blinked. This was the Ethan Hale? The billionaire himself? Lily's blue eyes sparkled. "Your cupcakes smell like Christmas. Are you Santa's helper?" Clara knelt, smiling despite her embarrassment. "Only part-time. Santa pays in cookies, not cash." Lily giggled louder, and Ethan, against his own will, felt the faintest tug of a smile at the corner of his mouth. That moment, small and silly, stayed with him long after she left. The next day, while Clara was restocking flour at the bakery, the doorbell chimed. To her shock, a man in a dark coat stepped in, snow still clinging to his hair. "Mr. Hale?" she blurted out, nearly dropping the flour bag. He gave a polite nod. "Miss Bennett, my daughter won't stop talking about you. She asked if you could come help us decorate our Christmas tree." Clara laughed uncertainly. "I'm sure she has decorators." "I told her the same," he interrupted, almost awkward. "But she insisted it won't feel real without you. If you could spare some time, it would mean a great deal to her." She hesitated, eyes flicking toward her brother counting coins at the counter. "I suppose, if it makes her happy, I could come after my shift." That evening, Clara stood at the gates of the Hale mansion, nervous as she looked up at the massive home glowing under the snow. When the butler opened the door, she stepped into a world that smelled faintly of pine and polish. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Lily raced toward her. "You came!" Clara smiled, kneeling to hug her. "I couldn't let you decorate without an official cookie taster, could I?" Ethan watched from the doorway, his posture stiff, unsure how this stranger had so easily captured his daughter's affection. But as the hours passed, something changed. Clara rolled up her sleeves in the grand kitchen and pulled Lily to the counter. "You can't decorate without homemade cookies," she declared. The chef frowned, unused to sharing his space. Yet soon the scent of butter and vanilla filled the house, and Lily's laughter rang through the halls. Flour dusted Clara's hair, and Ethan, passing by with a phone in hand, paused to watch. He couldn't remember the last time the mansion had sounded like this. Later, when the cookies were cooling and the tree stood half-decorated, Lily tugged Ethan's hand. "Daddy, hang one with us." Ethan hesitated. Work emails, deadlines, all forgotten when he saw his daughter's pleading eyes. With a sigh, he picked up a glass ornament and carefully placed it on the branch beside Clara's. "There," she teased softly. "Not bad for a beginner," he smirked. "I'll add it to my resume." It was the first genuine laugh that escaped him in years. The days that followed blurred into warmth and light. Clara returned again and again, helping Lily bake, teaching her carols, showing her how to make paper snowflakes. Ethan began to join them, drawn by something he didn't understand. The house felt alive again, music echoing through rooms that once only heard footsteps and silence. One evening, Clara found herself alone with him by the fireplace while Lily dozed nearby. She glanced at him, his profile softened by the firelight. "You work too much," she said gently. "Even your daughter says so." He smiled faintly. "Work's easier than feeling. It doesn't disappoint you." "Maybe," she replied, eyes warm, "but it doesn't hug you goodnight either." The silence that followed was tender, filled with unspoken ache. Ethan studied her. "You remind me of Grace, not in looks. In kindness." Clara looked down. "I'm sorry for your loss." He nodded, eyes distant. "I thought I'd forgotten how to feel anything. Then you walked in with a tray of cupcakes." But not everyone welcomed the warmth. Margaret Hale, Ethan's formidable mother, returned from London and immediately noticed the change. Her eyes narrowed at the unfamiliar woman laughing in the kitchen with her granddaughter. "That bakery girl?" she said later to her son. "Ethan, you're being careless. People will talk." "She's kind to Lily," he replied evenly. "She's after something," Margaret snapped. "They always are. Don't let a child's wish cloud your judgment." The words planted seeds of doubt. And when Ethan overheard a staff member mention Clara's financial struggles, the overdue rent, her brother's tuition, those seeds sprouted. That night, his mind twisted with questions he hated himself for thinking. Was Clara kind because she cared, or because she needed something? The snow fell thicker the next day, muffling the city in silence. Clara arrived with gingerbread dough and a bright smile. Ethan met her in the foyer, his expression colder than usual. "Clara," he began carefully, "why didn't you tell me about your situation?" She frowned. "What situation?" "That you're struggling financially. That your brother needs help with school. Were you hoping I'd offer assistance?" Her heart dropped. "Ethan, is that what you think of me?" He shifted uncomfortably, guilt flashing in his eyes. "I just need to know why you're really here." The silence between them was heavy. Then Clara's voice broke softly. "I came because your daughter asked me to. Because she needed someone to make her believe in Christmas again. And maybe because I needed that too." She blinked back tears, stepped forward, then stopped. "But if you can't see that, I'll go." That night she left quietly, a letter resting on the kitchen counter beside a half-decorated cookie. "Thank you for letting me feel like I belonged somewhere again. Even if it was just pretend." The mansion had never felt colder. Christmas Eve dawned quiet, the kind of silence that felt heavy, like the air itself carried regret. Snow layered thick upon the grounds, muffling every sound except the faint ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hall. Ethan Hale sat at the dining table, staring at the untouched breakfast laid before him. Across the table, a small chair sat empty, a pink cup beside it. Lily hadn't come down since last night. She had woken up to find Clara gone. "Daddy," she had cried, voice breaking, "you scared Mommy away." The memory cut through him like glass. He hadn't known what to say, how to explain that sometimes grown-ups made mistakes bigger than they could fix. He had stood frozen, helpless, while his daughter wept into her teddy bear, whispering for the woman who had made their house feel alive again. Now, as morning light filtered through the windows, Ethan's reflection stared back from the polished silver teapot, tired eyes, unshaven jaw, the emptiness of a man who had everything and nothing all at once. He rose abruptly, pushing back the chair. "Cancel all my meetings," he told his assistant over the phone. "I'm going out." Across the city, in a small, dim apartment above the bakery, Clara Bennett folded the last of her clothes into a worn suitcase. The room smelled faintly of sugar and old wood. Her brother, Noah, leaned against the doorframe, watching her silently. "You really don't have to leave New York," he said softly. "We can make it work." Clara shook her head. "It's not just about the money anymore, Noah. I need a fresh start." He hesitated. "Is it because of him?" Her hands paused over a scarf. She didn't answer, but the way her eyes glistened said everything. Noah sighed, crossing the room to place a hand on her shoulder. "You helped people your whole life, Clara, even when you had nothing. That man, he doesn't deserve your kindness." She smiled faintly. "Maybe he didn't, but his little girl did." Her voice cracked and she pressed her sleeve to her eyes. "Lily reminded me what love felt like. I hadn't realized how much I missed that." They both fell silent as the church bells outside rang softly through the falling snow. At that same moment, Ethan's car sped through the snow-covered streets. For the first time in years, he didn't care about business calls or appearances. He only saw Clara's face, her hurt, her disbelief when he accused her of something she'd never done. How could he have been so blind? At a red light, his mother's words echoed in his mind. "People like her want what we have." He clenched the steering wheel. "No, Mother. She wanted what we lost." When he reached Maple Street, he saw the bakery sign half covered in snow. Upstairs, a window glowed faintly. He ran, slipping on the icy sidewalk, his breath fogging in the air. He knocked hard, his heart hammering. Clara opened the door, startled. She wore her old gray coat, a suitcase by her feet. Her eyes widened at the sight of him. "Ethan!" He stood there, breathless, snow tangled in his hair. "Clara, I was wrong." Her brows knit, wary. "You shouldn't be here." "I have to be," he said, voice trembling. "I let fear speak for me. I let my mother's judgment blind me to what was right in front of me. You didn't come for money, Clara. You came because my daughter needed you. Because I needed you." Clara looked away, tears threatening. "Ethan, please." He took a step closer. "You taught me what Christmas really means. You brought laughter back to my home, warmth to my daughter's heart. I can't lose that again." A soft sniffle came from behind him. Lily's small face peeked from the car parked by the curb. "Miss Clara," she called weakly, holding her teddy bear tight. "Please come home." That was it. The fragile thread holding Clara together broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she knelt, arms open. Lily ran to her, burying her face against her coat. "I missed you so much," the little girl whispered. "I missed you too, sweetheart," Clara murmured, pressing a kiss to her hair. When she finally looked up at Ethan, her defenses melted. "I don't know if I can fit into your world." Ethan stepped forward, his voice low and steady. "Then let me build one where you belong." The drive back to the mansion felt like stepping out of a storm. The house, once so cold, now glowed with a soft, golden warmth. Lily skipped ahead, clutching Clara's hand. In the living room, the tree still stood half-decorated, the top missing its star. Clara laughed softly. "You never finished it?" Ethan smiled. "Didn't seem right without you." Together they hung the remaining ornaments, Lily perched on a stool between them. Clara reached for the star, hesitating. "You should do the honors, Mr. CEO." He shook his head, taking her hand. "Not without you." Their fingers brushed as they lifted the star together, placing it on top. The tree glowed brighter than it ever had. Lily clapped her hands. "It's perfect." Later that evening they baked cookies, real laughter filling every room. The air smelled of vanilla and cinnamon. The fire crackled softly, and snowflakes glimmered beyond the frosted windows. For the first time in years, Ethan Hale didn't feel alone. He watched Clara and Lily dance around the living room, tinsel in their hair, music low on the stereo. Clara turned, catching his gaze. Something unspoken passed between them. Soft, certain. When the clock struck midnight, Ethan crossed the room, standing beside her. "Clara," he said quietly, "I don't want this to end after Christmas." Her breath caught. "Ethan?" He smiled, small and sincere. "You once said work can't hug you goodnight. I'm tired of living that way." Clara's eyes shimmered. "Are you sure you're ready?" "I was never ready," he said, "until you walked in with a tray of cupcakes." She laughed through her tears, and before either could say another word, he leaned forward, pressing his forehead gently against hers. The kiss that followed was soft, trembling, real, and full of everything they hadn't dared to say. Across the room, Lily watched with wide eyes, then grinned. "Does this mean I get a mommy now?" They both laughed, pulling her into their arms. The days that followed were filled with warmth and laughter. Margaret Hale, to everyone's surprise, visited on New Year's Day. She stood by the doorway, watching Clara help Lily bake. When Lily ran to her, flour on her nose, Margaret hesitated before smiling faintly. "Your cookies smell better than the chef's," she admitted. Clara smiled softly. "Secret ingredient is love, Mrs. Hale." For the first time, the older woman didn't correct her. Months later, as spring melted the snow, the Hale mansion no longer felt like a museum. It was a home. Clara's laughter mingled with Lily's in the garden while Ethan watched from the patio, a mug of coffee warming his hands. He thought of the night he found her, suitcase in hand. How close he'd come to losing the very thing he didn't know he needed. When Clara turned and met his eyes, he knew he'd never make that mistake again. That Christmas, 1 year later, the family gathered by the same tree. The same star shone at the top. Lily, now 7, handed her father a small handmade card. Inside, written in messy crayon letters, were the words, "Thank you for giving me Mommy back." Ethan looked up, his eyes meeting Clara's across the room. No words were needed. He reached for her hand, holding it tight. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and slow, wrapping the world in white. And as the narrator's voice faded in, gentle as the snowfall. Sometimes the richest gifts don't come wrapped in ribbons or gold. They come softly, like love rediscovered, like hearts finally coming home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more kin-hidden stories.